Good morning. This is Carlos Hernandez, Digital Media Coordinator with Flagler County. Thank you for joining us at flaglersupports.biz for our COVID-19 Business Support webinar. We'll be starting this morning with Flagler County's very own Kat Friel. Kat?
Hi, today's subject is the road to reopening Flagler County's economy. It will be brought to you today by flaglersupports.biz and WNZF. Flaglersupports.biz is brought to you by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. Flaglersupports.biz is a multi-touch point resource designed to provide comprehensive information to our local businesses through a streamlined delivery system by organizing the information into an industry and in situationally specific format. Our host, David Ayers with WNZF, will take over the production of this webinar after the news. He is doing the news right now, so it'll be another 6 minutes. We'll listen to the news broadcast, and then David will take over. Thank you.
5 minutes after 9 o'clock, another COVID update, and this is a very special one because this is all about the businesses in Flagler County, either opening from being closed totally or also from partially opening. So we're going to talk with a lot of businesses today, and we're also going to go to the Flagler County Administration Center. Kat Friel, Economic Development Manager, has done a lot of putting this together, and I'll allow her to, if you would, for our radio, and also this is a Zoom. So Kat, do you want to set it up for us here?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am here in Flagler County General Services Building in the administration offices. I am joined today by our administrator, Jerry Cameron, and our emergency management director, Jonathan Lord. And Bob Snyder is there with you, David, in the studio, right?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Hey, Kat.
Good morning. Today's topic is the road to reopening Flagler County's economy. It's brought to you by flaglersupports.biz and WNZF. David, it's all yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Obviously, we've been talking every day at 9 o'clock here for the last 32 weekdays and filling people in. And I'm glad we're to this point where we're now talking about reopening the businesses. As we've talked about, the health casualties is one thing and business casualties are another, but yet it's also a casualty in the community and a very costly one. Today, we'd like to welcome all the businesses that are joining us on the Zoom meeting. Also, I found out, Carlos said that we're on television on channel number 492. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Channel 492 on Spectrum, if you have Spectrum as your cable provider.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Today, we're going to talk with restaurants. We're going to talk with different sectors of the community that have some real questions on how they can get reopened again. But I think maybe if we haven't yet, because we had to carry some network news there, Jerry Cameron, who is our Flagler County Administrator, you want to have some opening comments?
Certainly. First of all, good morning. It is very interesting to participate in this multifaceted technology meeting here. And I think that one of the things that come out of all of this that we've had to do to adapt to the disease that we're dealing with is this kind of technology that we'll be using to be more efficient and effective in the future and closer contact with our community. The purpose of this meeting is to, number one, be prepared when whatever orders come down from the governor about reopening the Florida economy. We want to make sure that our businesses are equipped both in knowledge and equipment to rapidly re-engage with the economy of Flagler County. And to that end, we'll talk about a number of different things that are out there. We want you to be able to open as rapidly as possible. This is certainly important to you individually, but it is important to our community that we can't stay in an economic coma indefinitely without doing permanent damage to the economy. We know that a lot of you are suffering financially, that we have a lot of small businesses that depend on their revenues and are really stressed when you go into a several month shutdown of your revenue streams. We realize that the small businesses that we have out here are essentially the very character of Flagler County. We could ill afford to lose those, so we want to provide every possible resource to you as this opens. There are a lot of things that are still unknown, exactly what the state's reopening will look like, but we want to be positioned to come back online, and we're going to constantly work with you to give you the things that you need, whether it is knowledge, direction, financial resources from the CARES Act and some of the things that we have there. The second thing is that we want to talk a little bit about how these decisions on the local level get made. It's a very difficult process when the feedback from the national and the state level is changing constantly. And what we know about the disease itself is changing constantly. And we meet daily, sometimes several times a day, with community partners, with our law enforcement, our health department, and other community partners to make sure that we get this right. It's a delicate balance of preserving the public health and protecting those who are most vulnerable, and trying to get our lives back to normal. So with that, we'll move on with the program. Again, thank you for being here and participating, and we look forward to working with you to return Flagler County to normal, or at least the new normal. Thank you very much.
I think let's do a little kind of a recap. Bob Snyder is our with our Flagler County Health Department. Gretchen Smith is also here. We've come a long way in a short period of time. Even the fact that we're talking about reopening businesses and getting back to normal was scoffed at just a couple of weeks ago. So where were we a couple of weeks ago? Why are we talking about it now? And where will we be 2 weeks from now?
Well, I think we're talking about it because we've seen the fact that we've reached a plateau and we're on the downward slope slightly with respect to hospitalizations, a number of people that have been in the ICU, so are really seriously, really sick individuals that seems to have again plateaued. So I think that's one of the reasons why. And then secondly, we've been at the social distancing and we've been at this closure status now for a good 3-4 weeks. And people are anxious and antsy about getting out and opening up our economy again and small businesses. And gosh, we couldn't agree more. We just would like to see this happen most likely in a phased in kind of approach. Looking forward to the governor's recommendations, most likely by the end of this week. I think it would be good to see some kind of lowering of and decline of the number of positive cases that we're experiencing here statewide and locally. That hasn't quite occurred yet because we are still ramping up the testing capacity. More testing you do, more positive cases that surface. Plus, we're anxious to see what's going to happen in the future regarding rapid diagnostic testing and surveillance testing. We've talked a lot about the antibody test. The governor's expecting a distribution and orders to come in the first week of May. And we just need to make sure that for those who we do identify as having the virus, that we have the capacity to isolate them quickly, get them into quarantine, and do that contact tracing function that we've talked about the last couple of weeks to avoid spread in the community.
Testing. I know that's the big thing everybody's talking about. And the local business here are like, well, go ahead and test.
Yep.
I need to get my business open. Jonathan Lord, our emergency operations director for Flagler County, is with us also on the Zoom call. Hey, Kat, people listening on the radio, can you tell them how they can tune in and get in on the video with us? Thank you, Kat. We made that clear. Is anybody else? Carlos, can somebody jump in? And I know we're
sure. I think Kat's microphone was muted there.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here. So we just added another resource for viewing this. So on the flaglercounty.org website, if you go to COVID-19 business resources page, right now this video is embedded there. You can watch through the Flagler County Government Facebook live feed. You can watch on the Flagler County Government YouTube page. You can watch, Carlos, where else can we watch?
And channel 492 on Spectrum. So we're tri-casting this morning on 2 live streams and 1 television channel. And plus WNZF, of course. Thank you for being such a wonderful partner.
And WNZF is on FM and AM radio.
Right. Yes, we are. And we're streaming worldwide on our Flagler Radio mobile app, if you haven't downloaded that yet. For people tuning in, this is an update, and it's the Flagler County's Road to Reopening Businesses. And so we have a lot of business owners listening right now. Everybody wants to do it the right way. They want the blessing of the health department. They want the blessing of their customers, and they want the blessing of their staff and to do everything safely. And there's a lot of questions. We're going to be talking today here in just a few minutes. We're going to be taking some phone calls from different business sectors, and they have specific questions. Jonathan Lord, testing. I know that's a big part of what you're doing. How is the testing going in Flagler County, and are we on track to get back to normal?
So testing is going very, very well. A couple weeks ago, we opened up a county-managed and partner-supported testing site with the Department of Health, the Florida Department of Health, and Advent Health, and Daytona State College, the Sheriff's Office, and volunteers from Flagler Volunteer Services. So we were able to open that up, and we actually stopped testing. We paused testing on Thursday. We were supposed to go through Friday, but the weather on Friday didn't allow us to continue. So we paused testing on Thursday. We are reconfiguring the site as we speak. There's actually teams out there building new tents for us. And tomorrow morning, we start up testing again. And we have the new testing, instead of these swabs, we have converted over to Advent Health's spit in a cup or spit in a vial type testing. So it's less invasive and more comfortable for folks. And people can now schedule appointments online through adventhealthcovidtesting.com or call the Advent Health 800 number to make an appointment.
Okay, very good. So the testing is on track. We're doing that right. We have enough test kits, and we have enough people working, and we have enough of the test kits being analyzed and sent back with results, right?
That is correct. And that's just one option. Our county managed testing site is just one option. The Advent Health has a large scale drive-up one at Daytona International Speedway. Some people's doctors are doing testing. Many urgent care centers are doing testing, and the health department's doing testing at their clinic. So on our county webpage, flaglercounty.org, if you click on the COVID-19 links, you'll find a bunch of new business links and face mask links and all about COVID-19, as well as a list of available testing sites and how to contact them.
Okay, so the government, our health officials, all have done your jobs in recognizing the threat, reacting to it, communicating to us here in Flagler County what to do. Businesses dutifully did follow reopen the beach a little bit to make sure everybody's behaving and doing the right thing. We've got positive on all that. So that sets the stage for the next phase of getting back to business. So we're not expecting anything drastic. The tests are pretty much what everybody is expecting as far as positives. Still at 2 deaths. And also what do we have in hospitalized is cumulative. So it's not that there's 10 people in the hospital right now with it. Right. So, so the number's relatively small. And so we have kind of a safe platform to move forward, correct?
Right. We have, for right now, I can share this. We have 4 patients in the hospital with COVID-19 related conditions. So yes, it's not the number 8 that you see on the report. It's really 4 right now. We have 131 positive cases. So again, more testing, more cases will be identified. So we can expect, even when our businesses open up, and most likely a phased rolling approach, we'll still be placing great emphasis from a public health standpoint on testing. That needs to continue for a while longer. Because remember, there's no antiviral yet that's been identified, and we don't have the vaccine yet for COVID-19. So testing needs to continue so that we can identify those who need to be isolated immediately and treat those who need to be treated immediately.
Okay, go ahead.
And just want to also mention that most likely social distancing will still be part of our future, even when businesses and the economy begins to open up and things get back on track. I think everyone in general can expect that social distancing will be part of our picture in our new normal, until when, obviously, a vaccine is identified.
Also on the call, Amy Lakosik. She is our Tourist Development Director. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, David. How are you?
Good. I know tourism devastated. Obviously, here we're talking Flagler County. I can't even comprehend the losses in Orlando with Universal and Disney and SeaWorld.
Right.
And I mean, all the workers and the amount of food consumption that didn't happen, and hotels and everything. But what about us here in Flagler County? How bad are we hit here?
We're pretty bad. It's definitely the worst case scenario. We have our preliminary numbers for March. So remember, we were open half of March, but occupancy was down 35%, and revenue for bed tax were down. And these are the unaudited numbers, but they were down 37%. So we are anticipating April will be double that number.
Well, you're kind of have an inside to what's happening in Florida in the tourism industry. I'm sure you've been on all kinds of Zoom calls like this and people talking. And I know the brightest minds in tourism are probably in Orlando with Disney and Universal all working together on how to reopen. What's the word on them? How are they planning on reopening?
Yeah, for Disney and Universal, we're not sure yet, but they are on the task force, the governor's task force for reopening. But there are working groups that were created as well. So obviously, most tourism businesses are not the level that Universal and Disney are. So the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, they sent their proposal over the weekend to the governor of their suggestions and recommendations and guidelines for that phased reopening for those types of businesses, restaurants and hotels.
Bob Snyder, go ahead. Bob has a question for you.
Amy, what can you share with us regarding Volusia and Flagler, specifically Flagler? I mean, with our lodging and motel association in Daytona Beach and then traveling north, what has been the impact specifically?
Yeah, so we're kind of in between for March, the data that we have. We didn't do as bad as St. Johns County, but we didn't do as well as Daytona Beach. Their occupancy was down 51%. So we're kind of in between them. And that likely had a lot to do with Bike Week that happened in March. Yeah.
So the hotels, motels here, Hammock Beach Resort is open, but yet they're practicing. What are the guidelines that Bob, you and the health department are asking or demanding local hotels to operate by?
Well, yeah, I have spoken to the Hammock Beach Resort executives, and I think Jonathan has as well since this began. And I know they're practicing social distancing. I know that they're paying special attention to infection control procedures and policies, disinfecting well-touched surfaces, etc. But I also know that they have suffered a great loss as well with their beach resort business and activities, significant losses.
I think, a first thing was the beaches being open, limited basis worked. And then Jerry Cameron announced that, okay, we're going to, let's just go back, only, don't socialize and
That's right.
exercise.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that I think are hugely important for Hammock Beach Resort, because people would come to stay there, staycation type stuff. But I do believe also there's going to be a big boom here in our area of people not going as far. So a lot of, maybe Amy would kind of weigh in on this too, is as people vacation here in the future, are we going to be more reluctant to get on that plane and go to the Caribbean or get on a cruise ship?
Yeah, absolutely. We have third-party vendors that have been helping us. They've been sharing weekly these traveler sentiment and where people are at. And definitely we're seeing closer to home sentiment that people will be looking for. And so that Central Florida market, one of the good things is that all the things that were kind of at our disadvantage being a small county will actually now be in our benefits. So people are going to want to stay closer to home, and the drive market is our market anyway, because we don't have that commercial airport conveniently in our county. And secondly, they're looking for the beach. When asked what were some of the things you're looking forward to or you want to do, that pent up need to travel, desire to travel, the beach was number one. So we are in a prime position for that. We have uncrowded beaches, and they're looking for less populated communities and destinations to go to. So those will be in our favor, and fingers crossed when that first wave of travelers can come and the residents feel comfortable, we are in a prime position to welcome those folks.
And what I like most about the decision about the beach reopening here is, number one, it was made together amongst our community partners, and not just one or two partners, but several, initiated by Jerry and Jonathan and law enforcement, and with good feedback from us. And number two, it had a public health perspective, the mantra, right? Exercise, don't socialize. And that's what we promote anyway during normal times. So I'm so glad that happened, everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay. Kat, we're ready to take some phone calls from the business community. Anything you want to say or do, either Jerry Cameron, Jonathan Lord, Bob Snyder, Amy Lukasik, before we go to the phones and turn it over to our business people?
Yeah, so what we were going to talk about today is the businesses reopening and the road to recovery, and how we need to go ahead and facilitate that. So when we talk about the safe social distancing, and we talk about the healthy concept of reintegrating and learning to coexist with this virus, it's going to be essential for our businesses to enact certain policies. Now, at this point, these are just recommendations for businesses to think about. However, the businesses can't do it alone. They need the respect of their employees and the respect of their patrons as well. So Jonathan's going to talk a little bit pretty quickly about what some of these recommendations are.
All right, thank you, Kat. So for those who are on the webinar, there's some slides that'll pop up, and Dave, I'll do my best to explain them well to the radio audience. So our road to reopening is based very much on the similar phases to the president's opening America up again. And our phases are tentative because we are well aware that later this week, the governor will be releasing the statewide path to reopening, and what we have come up with, it's a living document, and we will adjust it to be reflective of those levels of government higher than the county. So one of the key things that the president talks about, and also that we need to consider here, is the president calls it gating. We call it basically the increase or the rate of increase of new cases. We will always get new cases for the foreseeable future, because the way the health department and the CDC capture data is cumulative. So the numbers will always go up, but it's the rate of new cases in comparison to our entire community and the availability of testing that we need to monitor. And in addition to that, we monitor the ability of our healthcare system to manage those dire or more serious cases, which, as we sit today, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, our healthcare system locally here has been able to manage that. So as Kat and Amy and David, you and Bob have all mentioned, and Mr. Cameron, Jerry Cameron's mentioned, it's very much about monitoring our community. We're about making sure we have the ability to care for our sick within our hospitals and broader healthcare system. It's about what can we do to make sure that we can prevent infections for those who are at high risk for severe disease, such as those 65 and older or those with weakened immune systems. And it's also about building capacity to protect the health and well-being of our general public. And at the same time, and again, our topic today is about the economy and our businesses, doing all of this in a way that reduces social, emotional, and economic disruptions and helps to start our economy back up again. So we take this all, we look at our economy and our business sector, we look at the impact on our poverty. We know many, many people in our community and throughout the country have lost their jobs because of COVID-19 and the restrictions put on the business sector. We are well aware of that. So we kind of have 4 stops we need to go through to get back to what we would call normal and what I would really better refer to as the new normal. I don't know that we'll ever return to a place that we were exactly the same before COVID-19 started, but we will have a new normal. The first stop we'll get on is preventing and protecting, and we're pretty much there at this point in time. And testing is a big piece of that. Phased reopenings is the next piece, which is the most important thing I know to our business sector listeners. And then ongoing monitoring and reassessment, because we can't have waves where the number of cases spikes or where the disease process has a higher volume of sicker people. So we need to continue to monitor that. Just because we reopen doesn't mean we stop watching those things. So what is prevention and protection? We need to continue monitoring our community through testing. The health department will doing contact tracing. Those that are positive need to continue to isolate. And the big step forward, hopefully in the coming months, will be that antibody testing on top of the virus testing that's going on now. Again, that doesn't exist yet in mass quantities, but we are hopeful that the governor has made a commitment to get those here in Florida and start pushing out the antibody testing as soon as the system allows us to do so and they can get those test kits. Continue to prevent infection for those that are high risk. So as parts of our community start to open up, we're going to need to continue to remind those that are at high risk that they need to stay home and self-isolate. And then continue to make sure we have enough personal protective equipment for those first responders and healthcare workers that are getting exposed to those individuals on a regular basis to make sure that they can minimize their exposure. And as Kat and Amy both mentioned, I believe that even businesses, regular businesses, not healthcare ones, have access to cloth face coverings for their staff and their clients. So what does phased reopening mean? So phased reopenings talked about as we see certain things happen in our community in relation to the spread of COVID-19 and our ability to manage it, is we'll have different phases that we can allow different things to occur. So it's going to be based on current data, and it changes sometimes on a day-to-day basis. It's our ability to continue to mitigate the ability for us in the community and with our health partners to mitigate the spread in the community and our ability to protect the most vulnerable. Throughout all of the phases, and this will not change at all, is we'll need our business sector as well as our residents to continue to help message good hygiene practices, hand washing, avoid touching your face, sneezing or coughing into the tissue or inside of an elbow, constant disinfection, and continued use of face coverings when out in public, especially in areas where you cannot socially distance inherently. And again, the constant message of if you feel sick, whether or not it is COVID or coronavirus or not, is not going to work, it's not going to school, and following up with your appropriate medical provider. So when the president talked about opening America up again, he talked about phase 1. He covered things like continuing shelter-in-place protections for vulnerable populations, practicing social distancing, for keeping gatherings to less than 10 people. If gatherings under 10 people aren't possible, provide ample space to maintain at least 6 feet distance between individuals. Continue to refrain from non-essential travel. That means no leisure travel. Continue encouraging telework where feasible and practicing social distancing in workplaces. Large venues can only operate if there is ultra strict social distancing protocols. We don't really have those kinds of venues here in Flagler County, but some of those theme parks and arenas would only be able to open if they had extreme social distancing and temperature taking and things like that. Schools would continue to remain closed in this phase. Bars would remain closed. Gyms could potentially reopen, and again, that will be governed by our governor, as long as there are super strict social distancing guidelines and sanitation guidelines. What does that mean here in Flagler County? Parks and trails and beaches will reopen with limitations, so you're already seeing some of that happen here. Continued strongly recommending elderly and people with underlying conditions stay home. We are continuing that message as we speak. County government will continue social distancing measures, so access to government facilities will continue to be restricted. Local businesses should continue to encourage teleworking or working from home where feasible, and where not feasible, practice social distancing in the workplace, including the use of cloth face coverings. Residents and businesses, we continue to message and recommend they wear cloth face coverings when they're out in the public as part of their daily practice. And schools and youth activities such as camps remain closed during phase one. And again, we're kind of in this phase one, or the very nascent stages of phase one. Bars would remain closed, and just like the president said, gyms may be allowed to open by the governor, but there's going to be very strict rules on those types of facilities. So where we sit now is we're kind of in the very early stages of heading into that start of phase one. What happens next? Phase two, and phase two from the president says, continuing shelter-in-place protections for those vulnerable populations, practicing social distancing, and social settings of up to 50 people with social distancing measures. So we go from that 10 back to the 50, as we remember from well over a month ago. Some non-essential travel can resume with appropriate personal protections, such as cloth face coverings. Continued encouraging telework or work from home where it is feasible, and where it's not, continuing to practice social distancing in the workplace. Large venues can maybe weaken some of those restrictions on social distancing. Schools and daycare and organized youth activities with some restrictions will be able to start opening. Bars and maybe some restaurants will be able to have in-facility clients again. However, there'll be strict limitations on occupancy. And then gyms continuing to, with restrictions, will be able to open with social distancing and sanitation guidelines. What does that mean here in Flagler, that same kind of phase? You'll see expansion of parks, trails, and beaches here opening. You will continue to see our message about recommending those with underlying conditions and the elderly stay home. You will see more government services becoming more open again to public, but you'll see them being done in a new way, in a new normal, where there's more takeout window style government services. You continue to monitor people coming into government facilities with temperature taking and ensuring people are wearing cloth face coverings. Same thing would apply to local businesses. Continue to encourage telework where it's possible, where it's not, some softening of the social distancing in the workplaces and allowing slightly more interaction as long as you can maintain appropriate practices. Residents and businesses, even in this next phase, continuing wearing of face coverings as part of daily practices. You will see localized schools and daycare and organized youth activities like camp in the summer start popping open again, where it can be done in a safe manner. And again, bars and gyms and restaurants, you will see the ability for people to go into them, but with distancing and spacing guidelines. And then the last third phase, as our country returns to what our new normal may be, is that third phase, and this may be months upon months away, will be vulnerable populations can now resume public interactions, but the individual should be taking their own precautions, such as cloth face coverings and socially distanced. Large size gatherings will be unrestricted, but proper hygiene will be reinforced. And again, those that are vulnerable will need to take personal protection measures. Workplaces can resume unrestricted operations. Bars and restaurants and gyms can increase their occupancy levels as long as sanitation guidelines are adhered by. That same kind of concept would apply here in Flagler County. You'd see all of our parks, trails, and beaches open without limitations. You would continue to see ongoing messaging from us to our public about making sure that if you're a vulnerable population, you remember to personally socially distance and you remember to wear cloth face coverings. Our facilities will be open into the new normal. Our local businesses will be open into the new normal and should continue to encourage those that are vulnerable to wear cloth face coverings and take additional sanitary precautions and message to their clients, hey, we're doing this for you. We are taking precautions with our staff and with you coming into our facility. It's a great marketing tool saying we're doing this for you. And again, bars, gyms, and restaurants, very similar to what the president would say. in his phases. And the last couple of things here, David, before I turn it back to you, is I'm open for questions, is monitor and reassessment. As we go through these phases, we're going to continue to monitor. And if we start seeing an increased impact on our healthcare system, an increase in number of new deaths, an increase in a drastic increase in number of new cases that isn't just tied back to the fact that we're doing more testing, then we may have to reassess, pause on a phase, potentially even take a step backwards, because at the end of the day, it's about protecting our community. But the goal is if we can move forward in phases and take our time to watch these phases, we won't have to move forward. We can make sure our community is locked in on the phase, see the gains on the public health side, and then move to the next phase. And then out of all of this, last but not least, I think we're going to end up with a new normal. Wearing cloth face coverings in public may become a somewhat normal thing to see in public for people that are mildly ill or people with weakened immune systems. In Asia, you've seen that for decades. We may see that here in the United States as well. And it won't be abnormal for someone just to throw a cloth face covering on if they're going into crowded places, getting on airplanes, getting on buses, those kinds of things. I think that is what our new normal will look like. And you will see things like more hand washing stations available in public venues and more hand sanitizer available on counters in businesses and stuff like that. So that is what I think our world is heading to, but we are, still think many, many, many months away from that. Thank you, David.
Any questions for Jonathan from our panel members? By the way, if you just tuned in and either on radio or on TV or on the Zoom, Kat Friel, Economic Development Manager, put this together for the businesses of Flagler County. And that's what we're focusing on here. Also on the call, Jerry Cameron, Flagler County Administrator, Jonathan Lord, you just heard from our Emergency Management Director, Bob Snyder, Gretchen Smith here in the radio studio at WNZF, and Amy Lakasik for our Flagler Tourism Development Director. Yeah, I know that title's not right, Amy, but it's close enough. So questions for Jonathan, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and the new normal. Of course, probably one big question is going to be phase 1. When does phase 1 take effect?
Sorry, my mute button wasn't working. So I think we are in the beginning nascent phases of phase 1. We're monitoring. Again, a lot of this is going to be triggered by the public health guidance and what Bob and his department share with us. It's also going to be very heavily driven in the next week or so by what the governor tells us and his expectations. I believe we're going to be given boundaries of things we can and cannot do, and things we can be stricter on and things we cannot be stricter on. And so this is very much a learning and absorbing week for us, and I think for our entire state, to really see how we plug in these phases, the president's phases, our phases, with what the governor ultimately releases in the coming days.
I think one of the things that should be said is congratulations to the residents and businesses and all of us here in Flagler County for the numbers. It's one of the best counties in the state per capita.
Yeah, when you take a look at the Central Florida area and compare 10 counties in the region, yeah, we're at the lowest when it comes to number of cases. And we've talked about this a lot. We feel like our community has definitely heard us, and they have adhered to the social distancing measures that were put into place by the city of Palm Coast and the county. And so we're really thankful and grateful that occurred.
Well, I think, we've all absorbed as residents a sense of common sense now during this. Yeah. At first, it was kind of like, what are you talking about? And I'm not going to do that. The next thing you know, I am, and everybody is. And so here we are. So I think we've earned to be on the threshold of phase 1 based on our behavior and intelligence and common sense. So we don't want to blow it now, because if the numbers go sky high, then it's like, okay, everybody go to your room again. And that's not what we want.
Yeah. And I mean, just yesterday, Police Chief Downey in Flagler Beach, he said, gosh, if I was to give our community a rating, he says, I give them an A+ for their response to the limited opening of the beach, the previous 5 days. So thank you, Flagler County, and all of our cities. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think Jerry Cameron kind of went out on the limb a little bit and took some heat from people saying, no, too fast, too soon. But you're used to that, right, Jerry?
Well, that's certainly part of the job is you absorb criticism for decisions. There's no such thing as a decision that everybody approves of. I kind of equate it to back when I used to umpire adult softball. When the runner was out by 6 feet at first base and the ball was a foot off of the plate, everybody was happy with the call. But when I had to be perfectly positioned and perfectly focused to get it right, only 50% of the people were happy. So, you know, when you do your best work is when you tend to have the most criticism. But we were walking a very delicate balance, and the information we were working off of changed daily. I have thought from the very beginning that we couldn't kill the economy while we were saving lives, and it's kind of like you want to stop the spread of termites in a house. Well, you can burn the house, and that's 100% effective in stopping the spread of the termites, but then you don't have a house when you finish. And we don't want to get in a situation where we stop the spread of a virus, but we have no economy left. And this economy is at a point that we need to do whatever we can to get it back functioning and open, because once our employees start to disassociate from their former employees, the recovery is really, really much more difficult. So we want to be safe, but we want to get Flagler County back in business.
Okay. All in favor of going to the phones and hearing from some of our business people, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
The ayes have it.
It's unanimous. All right, let's go to the phone lines here, everybody. And if you just tuned in, let me kind of reset it up here. This is our town hall, but it's a special one because it's preparing your business to reopen in Flagler County back on the road to business being open. Kat Friel put this together, our Economic Development Manager for Flagler County. On the call right now, we have Jerry Cameron, Flagler County Administrator, Jonathan Lord, Emergency Management Director, Bob Snyder and Gretchen Smith here in the studio at the WNZF. And also they're with our Flagler County Health Department, and Amy Lakasik, who is in charge of tourism. So we've got some great minds on the call here, and let's just open it up live, and we'll go take our first call, and we'll go to Jade at iStyle Optical. Go ahead, and your business greatly affected, Jade. You have the ears of the whole community. So go ahead, take it away. What are your concerns?
Well, my concerns are, the people coming in the store, how we protect them and how they protect us. But I mean, it's all concerned to everybody. About reopening, I reopened yesterday from, 9 to 5, and it went really well. It went very well. People came in with their masks on, which I was greatly appreciated. And we wore our masks, except when there's nobody in the store, I let them take them off. We work in the back, so I let them take them off then. But other than that, I mean, that's all my concerns. I think we're doing great. We're doing great as a county, and we're doing great as a city. I think we did real well.
Hey, Jade, this is Bob from the health department. Jade, I'm so glad that you had a positive day yesterday. Just want to ask, so you're wearing masks. Are you wearing gloves as well?
We have gloves, but it's hard to put the little screws in and fix the glasses. When we can, we wear them, yes.
Okay, great. And a lot of hand washing going on as you, obviously in between your clients, and taking gloves on and off, etc.
Oh yeah, hand washing between every client. There's sanitizing on every desk. We wipe down every desk when they're done. And then at night we disinfect, we spray, we disinfect every night when we leave. So I think we're taking good measures. My employees are great. They're doing a good job. I'm staying home though, but they're doing great.
Jade, are you requiring your customers to come in wearing masks as well? Is that essential for you?
No, I don't require them, but I mean, 90% of them still have them on. Like I said, the county's doing great. I mean, people are covering up really well.
Good. If people don't know where to get a mask, on our resources page, I don't know if you can see my screen. So on our Flagler County resources page, you can go and go to COVID-19, and there will be a tab on the left-hand side on the menu that says for residents. If you click on that tab, you'll see a section that says cloth face coverings. What we've done is we've contacted many different people who are actually making masks in the community. They're sewing cloth masks. Some are donating, some are selling, which helps stimulate the economy. If you don't have a mask, you can purchase it from one of these mask makers here in Flagler County, and we have provided their contact information. Like I said, go to flaglercounty.org, COVID-19, for residents, search for where it says mask coverings. For the businesses, if you select for businesses, you will see there is a toolkit there that has posters and signage already made up for you, whatever level of protection you want to insist that your customers and your employees utilize. You know, my preference is no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service, but you know, it's not just about us and our personal rights, it's about everybody. There, you come into contact with so many people. So we've provided these resources for you. Businesses that cannot find PPE, we have a list of companies that we deal with, and if you contact me directly at kfriel@flaglercounty.org, I can get you some vendors' names for that PPE.
Bob Snyder, health director. Go ahead.
Jade, it sounds like you are doing all the right things. Gosh, commend you for that. One question I had, though, are you taking specifically appointments, or do you have walk-in business as well? I asked that question because, like at the health department, we're still providing core public health services, but to avoid larger gatherings of people in our lobby, we're focused on appointment taking as opposed to, walk-in traffic and activity for right now anyway. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, we're only allowing 2 or 3 people in the store at a time.
Okay.
No, I'm not taking appointments yet. I think the doctor's coming back May 5th. We're starting to take appointments, and he's only going to do 2 an hour.
Okay, great.
So we're limiting that, yes.
Great. Excellent, Jade. Thank you.
So let's be critical of Jade here for a moment, all right? Because we iStyle Optical, great place. She's doing all that she thinks. Is there anything she's missing?
Gosh, I can't think of anything at the moment. I think you're doing all the right things from a public health perspective.
All right, stamp of approval. From our health department, Jade.
Great.
All right, well, that's good. iStyle Optical, Winn-Dixie Plaza, Palm Coast is open for business. Call and get your appointment. Give yourself a plug. What number?
My number?
Yeah.
446-4210.
All right. Very good. iStyle Optical, and they make the glasses right in the back, which is, I think, pretty cool. Nice thing to have here so they can do them fast for you, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, Jade.
You guys are doing great.
All right, Jade Jackson, iStyle Optical. Thank you very much. We're going to buzz on over to Viviana's Hair Salon. Viviana, are you with us?
Yeah. How are you?
All right, we're good. All right, here's a close contact. I've noticed a lot of people have had horrible haircuts here in the last month, including
or no haircuts.
Some of our staff. Yeah. So a salon is a non-essential business. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. But to me, I feel like grooming is very essential in many ways.
Absolutely.
But the law says it's not non-essential, so we have to follow the law.
Okay. So what are some we want to get Viviana's Hair Salon. Where are you located, Viviana?
I'm located in Marvin's Garden at 4601 East Moody Boulevard, and we're in the back. There's many businesses there, and we have been hurting bad because it is a contact, service. You have to touch the person, and people are very aware of what's going on, and I commend them greatly that they are taking precautions. They wear masks if they have a compromised immune system. But I feel that it's something that people need to be aware of. I mean, let's face it, this has been a pandemic. And I feel like if everybody takes precautions, we would be in better shape. The main thing is that you keep your hands washed all the time. Make sure that you ask if you have a cough or if you've been around anyone that's been contaminated. If you have a fever, that to stay away for 14 days. I mean, that's common sense. I think we need to use common sense. Wash your hands. Sanitation has always been a big thing in the hair industry. I can speak for myself. I don't know about anyone else that is in the hair industry, but I'm a fanatic about sanitation. I even spray the air conditioning vent before this even came about.
Wow.
Because, we have a spray that we use. It's called Barbicide, and it kills everything on contact, even the coronavirus. So, it can kill herpes, AIDS on contact. So it's very powerful. And I put it in the vent. So it cleans the whole air conditioning unit and comes into the air that comes into the salon. So, I don't have a very large salon, thank God. I have an area where it's 540 square feet, but it's a good, practice.
All right. Well, let's give Viviana some advice here. Bob Snyder and anybody else chime in. What does Viviana need to do to win the seal of approval?
Can I make a comment, Viviana? Is it so as far as having, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again, having your customers mask, is there any way that you would make it essential for them to come in? I mean, you're working on their hair, not working on their faces necessarily, but we don't know. So like, for example, I don't know what my status is. So when I go out into the community, I assume that I have to keep everybody safe. And when I finally get to sit down in my hairdresser's chair, which will be determined by the governor when we can go ahead and do that. But when I sit down in my my stylist chair, hi Casey, I miss you. I will be wearing a mask. I know that, her fiance has might have an issue that she could bring home. So since I don't know my status as a customer, I feel the responsibility to protect her as well. So Viviana, would you ever ask your customers to come in masked and keep their masks on?
That is their own choice. I mean, we have free will, and if a person wants to wear it, I can't. If they don't want to wear it, I can't force them. If they want to wear it, then that's their choice.
But you are a private business, and you can set the standard for, as a private business, you can and I'm not saying do this. You could refuse service. We have that policy: no shirts, no shoes, no service when you go into a restaurant or a store. So it is the business owner's prerogative to determine their own policies. It's just food for thought.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Again, if a person has to wear a mask because of their immune, is suppressed, that's their choice. I'm one that doesn't feel like it's mandatory to have someone get a vaccine if they don't want to. But that's my thought. That's an individual thought. But if it makes a person feel better, I will wear a mask, and I will ask them if they want to wear a mask. But I'm not going to make it mandatory to them. Whatever makes them feel safe. If they feel safe, I have clients that before this happened, they were wearing a mask because their immune system is like they have COPD and I mean, they're exposed to so much. So, yes, I will wear it if it has to be mandatory, but as far as the questions that we ask is if you have a fever, if you have a cough, if you've been around anyone within the last 14 days that have been, or if you've been quarantined with someone, these are the questions we ask. We take by appointments only. And I've been doing that since I opened up in August, before all this happened. And, I just take precautions, and I don't have any more than 3 to 4 people in the salon at one time anyway, before this all happened. So we use all clean. Everything is clean and sanitized. So if the GDPR says we have to do a certain thing, then we have to do it.
All right, Viviana, Bob Snyder, Health Department.
Viviana, so we're awaiting the governor's recommendations from his task forces with respect to a phased opening. So let's say that either this week or next week or soon, he says, "Yep, hair salons are an essential service, an essential activity, and we're going to open you back up." So, what are the top 3 changes would you make if you got word, "Yep, I'm ready to open up for business"? What are the top 3 things that you plan on implementing compared to where you were, 2-3 months ago?
Ask the essential questions. If they have a cough, a fever, or if they've been around a person that may have been exposed to the coronavirus within 14 days, wear the mask, wear the gloves, make sure the sanitation is in place at all times. You disinfect every implement you use on each and every customer. That's been a normal practice from day one.
Right.
Before all this happened. So I'm a fanatic when it comes to that anyway. I don't even get my nails done because I don't think they're sanitary, the artificial nails. But that's a personal choice. Again, I'm just that way. But I feel like these are the things that need to be put in place.
And would you consider wearing a mask and, of course, gloves and everything? Yes?
Of course, yes.
All right. All right, you won the seal of approval.
You did it.
To get us back in business.
Viviana, those are, you're spot on. You, from a public health perspective, you have things going on there. So thank you for that.
All right.
Excellent.
All right, Viviana, we'll get you back open there. Thank you. Appreciate your insight and honesty. And so Viviana's Hair Salon, what's your phone number if somebody wants to make an appointment with you?
Okay, it's 386-931-4145.
All right, Viviana, thanks a lot. Appreciate you participating here today. Hair salons, like I say, I've seen some horrible haircuts here.
Or none at all. Yes.
Kat, you're looking good. I wasn't talking about you there.
I don't know. I shaved my husband's neck the other night and it was not pretty.
All right. Well, what about retail? Hammock Hardware is a cool store. One of the coolest stores. If you've ever been to Hammock Hardware, you got to go there. But right now they're having some challenges. Alex and Robin are the ones that run it. So we'll turn it over to you representing retail. How has this affected your business?
To be honest with you, we haven't really seen much effect except for maybe a couple of our employees having to stay home with their children and things like that. We've seen a lot of actual more foot traffic with what's going on because people are staying home and they're trying to work on home projects or things like that. So we've been quite busy around here.
Mm-hmm. How is it in your store? Because you have a lot of different things in there, and so how do you control people because of the social separation?
So what we've been doing is we've been limiting only 3 people in our store at a time. So we get them in, we get them out. We have a cone set up out front, and we start a line. If they need some other type of service, we ask that they either call in what they need or that they just come around back and talk to me if they need something that's going to be longer, like bike repair or screen repair, things like that.
Okay.
Do you have a delivery service happening?
We do have delivery, but we actually haven't really had much of that. People are still coming. But it is what it is, and we're just trying to help the people as much as we can.
Are your employees wearing masks or bandana or cloth covering over their faces by chance?
Our employees are. We were wearing gloves, but we sanitize pretty heavily right now. We use spray 9 and Lysol and things like that on our counters.
Good.
We ask that people don't touch the merchandise and we'll grab it for them, things like that. We don't let people just wander like we used to, because we are a pretty good tourist area on this side of the bridge. So we just ask people that they don't come in and just wander for 45 minutes. We just get them in and get them out.
Right.
That is a great policy too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you touch it, take it is kind of, don't
Yeah.
be putting your mitts all over everything.
Okay. All right. Well, so I'm glad things are going well for you. It's such a cool place. And if, you haven't been to Hammock Hardware, it's an adventure, and you guys do all different kinds of things in there. Somebody said you do bike repair and that. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, well, here, give yourself a quick plug on Hammock Hardware.
So we're open right now. We did shorten our hours. We're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5. We, our phone number is 386-445-1673. If you need to call in your order before you come, that is perfectly fine. We have people that are capable of doing that. And we are still doing screen repair and bike repair, and any other weird projects that you may have, just come in and talk to us.
Great. All right. Well, hey, thank you. Hammock Hardware. I'm glad you're well. Do they meet they do? All right. You got the seal approval from the Flagler County Health Department. Congratulations.
Great job.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Be safe. Thank you. I think that's kind of cool that they're doing well over there. So a lot of businesses are. So I'm sorry, Gretchen, go.
No, I mean, between Lowe's and Home Depot, I mean, they're slamming too. So
okay.
Yeah. We have an employee that has a second job at Home Depot, and we ask him how are things going. He says everyone is really focused on home improvement right now and yard work, and they've been real busy too.
We had a question texted in. They want your opinion on Barbasol. Is it as good as she said?
A Barbasol. Okay.
She said that's what she uses to clean the beauty salon when Viviana was on.
Gosh,
I know it's been used forever, but maybe we'll have to ask Dr. Bickle to look into it.
We'll have
Isn't that what
we'll have to get a read on that, Kat.
They soak
ahead,
their
Kat.
utensils in it, like their combs and everything.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a standard disinfectant for that purpose, Kat, I would say that we're okay,
Okay. Moving on to massage. Is it Pam? Are you there? Pam O'Neill.
I'm here.
All right. Well, here's one that you can't get around close contact and hands-on. Can't get a massage without being touched. So tell us, what are you doing at Hand and Stone, and see if you can get a seal of approval here.
So we are a massage and facial spa. So yes, we have one-on-one close contact. Obviously, we're closed right now, and we're just really waiting to find out what phase we would fall into.
Yeah.
So let's get an answer on that. What phase would massage fall into? Jonathan?
You got the report there, Jonathan, or the presentation. Would you say phase 2, between phase 2, phase 3, maybe?
I'm going to think it's because it's hands-on contact. I'm going to say it's more likely phase 2.
Yeah.
I think there may be exceptions for massages for medical purposes. Again, that's going to come from the governor, not from us.
Right.
Medical treatment that may happen sooner.
Oh, so Pam, I tell you, if you saw that the governor, said, "Yep, essential activity or essential business for a massage therapist," what in your mind, common sense things that you would put into place, knowing that we're still grappling, with this COVID-19 because we don't have a vaccine yet?
Right. So one of the things that, we're working on as far as different protocols and, our idea of reopening is, staggering start times with our massages. So you don't have a lot of people in our beautiful lobby. You have different times that people are moving through the halls, longer times in between each services for, sanitizing, disinfecting. We have sinks in each of our suites. So our employees will be washing their hands consistently, making sure clients know that they're washing their hands before, after. So they'll be wearing masks. We have gloves available. So if clients want us to use gloves, they'll be available for them also.
Okay,
so we're trying to work on all these different possibilities.
So you definitely, as a massage therapist, you'd be wearing gloves, you'd be wearing a mask.
Yes, and the gloves really are going to be available that we would wear. Normally, we don't wear gloves during the massage.
Sure.
So if the client wants us to wear, because the call is that skin-to-skin contact is not really how it's transmitted. So but we're available to have the gloves. Each suite will have a box of gloves in each of them. So if the client wants us to use gloves, they're available for them.
And what would be your protocol for hand washing?
So hand washing, of course, is like I said, the sinks are in each of the suites, so the clients know that when they walk in, the therapist will wash their hands before. They'll do the massage. They wash their hands, quite a long time after. So they're aware of the hand washing, so they see that the constant hand washing is going on.
Man, I would think, Gretchen, do you agree? I think hand washing probably would be the most important element to this for a massage therapist. So I'm so glad you really focused on that and emphasized it. That is perfect.
So one of the things about Hand and Stone, just real quickly, is that they also have a retail portion where they sell products. And the products that they sell, you can't just get at Walmart or CVS or something like that. So I had taken a chance and called Hand and Stone and said, hey, there's this item that I want to purchase. Can I buy it through your store instead of ordering it remotely? And this is one of the ways we can support local businesses right now. And Pam arranged to meet me. I was able to purchase through her facility, her shop. And one other thing I want you to know about Hand and Stone quickly was they shut down right away when all of this started. And Pam, who was a local business owner, actually sent out an email that they were going to not collect their membership fees for the month of April, so that it could give people a little bit financial relief. So they were concerned about their customers, which, melts my heart. But then on top of that, they were going to offer it again, payment relief for May. But instead they're doing something, and just, Hand and Stone members, if you're out there and listening, they're going to give you the option, if you want to pay your membership for May. If you do pay your membership for May, they are going to match your massage with a free massage for one of the Advent health workers. Isn't that right, Pam? Are you doing that?
So for everyone who stays active with us during the month of May, we are actually donating that, not their massage. They can keep their massage for their membership, but we're going to donate a massage or a facial to one of our frontline health workers at Advent.
Okay, so I think that was interesting when you said that, this could be medical, because it really is not. I mean, hey, it's nice to go get a massage just to relax and everything, but a lot of people have serious underlying problems with sciatica and back problems, and a whole list of them, and shoulders and all those kind of things. So would this be a phase one to reopen, is my question, Jonathan or Bob?
I guess we'll wait and see. We are anxiously awaiting the governor's recommendations. I'm not really sure, Jonathan. How about you?
I think Bob said it correctly. It's so hard to tell to know where our phases tie into the president's phases, and what that means. The piece in the middle that is even more important to us is what the governor's boundaries are, and we're going to have to be nimble and flex based on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and right, Jonathan, I mean, listening to Pam and Kat, listening to her, answer questions about precautions that she would take. I mean, from a public health perspective, I think she's spot on.
Okay. Does she get
Absolutely.
You get a ding.
And that's a positive plus great ding, by the way, Pam. So congratulations.
All right, Pam O'Neill, Hand and Stone. Target Plaza, and Kat already gave you a good enough commercial, so we're going to move on.
Thank you.
All right. Question here, texted in. What about tattoos? What phase would tattoos be in?
Oh, wow.
All right. Question here, texted in. What about tattoos? Well, let's see. We have somebody who's got their radio up on what are we on here? Bowling center. Okay. All right. What about tattoos? Can you answer that one?
I'm going to guess. Again, this is all a guess because it's going to be detailed by the governor by segment of each industry. I'm going to guess that's more likely towards the end of phase 2 into phase 3.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, Jonathan. Yes. And I know that there's a lot of precautions that tattoo parlors can take into effect, like, of course, wearing gloves. We know they do that. Great infection control practices with respect to the inks that are being used and preparation for all of the activities involving getting a tattoo, as well as mask wearing. I mean, I can see all that come into play.
Okay. Another question on masks here. Like right now, there is a global shortage of masks. Is that true?
Well, there is a shortage, but like we've been saying for the last many weeks, you can wear a cloth. You can. There's homemade masks. There is bandanas. There's scarves. There's just so many alternatives to covering your face.
Well, think about, okay, right now, millions and millions of people out of work. And now we're saying, okay, everybody go back to work, but you got to wear a mask, and the customers have to wear masks. And right now, I did look online, and if you would order like the triple, what do you call it, the triple one, or I mean, half a decent ones, prices are a lot higher than they were.
Yeah.
And they say delivery with Amazon isn't even until July. So what kind of a demand are we going to put on the availability of masks? Because if we're asking servers and customers and everybody to be wearing them, where are they going to get them?
So I would recommend going, again, the flaglercounty.org COVID-19 for residents section has a list of local mask makers here. So
buy local.
Buy local, support these people. A lot of them are out of work, and they actually, they love to sew. So they're taking this opportunity to do this. We also have some scout troops that are doing it. We have local businesses, like you name it, that's doing customized face masks for your business with your business logo. We have local dealers like Curly Tail that have resources outside the community, but because she is located here in Flagler County, you are supporting a Flagler County business. Go to that website, flaglercounty.org, click on the COVID-19 banner, and then select for residents, and you'll see the cloth mask covering option on the menu. It tells you the proper wear and where to buy.
Okay, everybody's talking. Any other comments on masks and availabilities? And because there's different ones. I mean, if you're a professional, you're not going to wear one that somebody locally made. You're going to need disposable masks, and you're going to go through a lot of them. Is that
David?
Yes.
For obvious reasons, the county had to do a lot of scrambling and sourcing to get masks for first responders and for our own staff. So we have developed a list of sources, and the masks are now in heavy production. So they're becoming more and more available. If a business here has problems sourcing a mask, they'll get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with someone where you can purchase masks.
Where you could purchase a quantity of them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, Jerry. That's very helpful. Okay. Exercise, bowling. We've got a great Palm Coast Lanes. We've got some owners that have put a lot of money into it and built a nice deck and everything. And bam, the bowling alley is quiet. With us right now is Michelle. And good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your show.
So I imagine the sound of bowling balls and crashing pins is music to your ears?
No, actually, it's not very nice. Too quiet here. I enjoy the bowlers and the company of the people and their families, but I have been on staff since we closed. My main priority right now is sterilizing everything in this building from top to bottom, chairs, approaches, the tabletops, bathrooms, tiles. I have been literally scrubbing this place with bleach since we closed March 19th. So it is definitely sterile, and it's ready to open whenever the governor says we can. My biggest question is, what phase do we fall under? That's the big question of the day. Everybody's asking me, calling me up, are you open? When will you be open? And I honestly keep telling them when the governor says we can, we'll be more than happy to. We do have policies and procedures which we were going to go over. It's not going to be as crowded as it used to be. They're going to come in a certain amount of people per lane. We already have the tables separated. It's going to be a lot of social distancing. We will provide gloves if they would like to wear gloves while they bowl. We're going to purchase masks if they want to have a mask while they bowl, and just take one day at a time.
Hey, David, it's Jonathan. I think they're going to be tied along with restaurants, I think, very closely, and they're going to have probably restrictions somewhere in phase 2 would be my guess, but I could be wrong because that's, again, it's up to the governor. But there's going to be restrictions. You're not going to be able to have groups unless they're household groups sitting next to each other at a lane. You're going to have to be able to make sure that people can stay 6 feet away from each other, is what I would expect is going to be said.
So
yeah, we're going to do every other lane.
Okay. So, Michelle, if the governor said, just soon that bowling alleys are okay, an essential activity for recreation. So you did mention a few things. You mentioned masks. You mentioned all the wonderful sanitation that you're doing, which is fantastic, by the way. What other things did you have in mind? What else did you have in mind with respect to knowing that the infection is still out there without a vaccine?
Well, when they're done bowling, we're going to go down to the lanes. All our employees here will be wearing masks and gloves, and the front desk person will be responsible for taking the bowling balls and personally cleaning the holes out with alcohol or bleach, whatever is the strongest for this disease that's out there, and putting them back on a certain area where it's going to say balls are cleaned here, dirty balls are here. We're going to separate them. We're going to spray them down. We spray our shoes down now anyway, so we're just going to add that onto the things that we have to disinfect.
Right.
Definitely the bowling balls.
Yes, definitely. How about, while the bowling balls are, coming from the lanes and they're coming up from their caged area and they're being grabbed by different folks, would you have an opportunity for the bowling balls to have wipes or anything like that available at the lanes themselves?
Well, they're going to be cleaned before they go back on the shelves for people to grab.
Okay. All right.
We're going to have, they've already been cleaned and disinfected. That was the first thing. Mike, one of our managers, he cleaned that immediately as soon as we found out about the outbreak, and they haven't been touched since from the outside people.
Okay. So
yeah.
Sounds like you're all over it. What are they missing?
I can't think of anything. Jonathan, Gretchen?
Yeah, the only thing I think of is that, if you have people coming in a bowling alley, you always have to touch a lot of different bowling balls to find one that works for you.
Yeah.
So maybe hand sanitizing type of things, while people are picking out their ball.
Mm-hmm. Or
yes, we do. We've had hand sanitizer in the bowling alley throughout the center. I am going to ask them if maybe they can wear gloves. Would they feel comfortable bowling with gloves?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have all different sizes. We prefer the bowlers to wear gloves until this is all over with.
Good.
That is going to be strongly suggested.
So testing, sticking your fingers into a whole rack of balls, trying to find the right one. If you have a glove on, then that would solve that problem.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
And I can also help. I will also help them find balls if they can't find them. I'm going to have gloves on. Everybody in the staff will be wearing masks. So we'll help them find the right ball to fit their fingers, but hopefully they'll all be wearing gloves.
All right.
And we also have bowlers that have their own bowling balls. They're league players. They come in with their own shoes. They come in with their own equipment. So that won't be as demanding on us to do that.
Well, Michelle, we can't wait for Palm Coast Lanes to open up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does she get a seal of approval?
Absolutely.
All right. Congratulations, Michelle. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, as soon as you guys open, let us know. We'll get it all over the radio for you. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate you having us on the air. Have a great day.
You got it. We got a text of thing saying chiropractors have been doing massages all along in Flagler County. They never stopped. Comments on that from anybody?
Chiropractic medicine is an essential medical health service. So I'm so glad to hear that. And, I'm sure that they are taking the right precautions with respect to gloves and masks and disinfecting and appointment gathering and taking. A good friend who's a chiropractor, and I know that they have their act together with best practices. So I'm glad to hear that.
So, okay, chiropractors, so massage therapists follow the same protocol. They're good to go as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go. All right, well, here's the big one, restaurants. And
Yes.
we've got with us Scott Fox, one of the owners of Tortugas on Flagler Beach. And good morning, Scott.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody?
Oh.
Good, Scott. Hey, Scott, this is Bob, man. Miss seeing you weekly at Rotary.
Hey,
And
buddy, how are you?
yes, I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing okay, friend.
I am, Bob. I got to tell you, you're doing an amazing job.
Well,
we love everything you're providing everybody, and we can't thank you enough. I know it's been a long go, and you and I talked about this about a month ago,
Yes,
even
we
before anything happened. And you said this was going to be a long road for us, and we're just happy to have you.
well, we love Tortuga, Scott, so we can't wait for you guys to open up. So we're anxiously awaiting, the governor's report here. So what is on your minds with respect to, when you can open up? What changes have you guys decided on?
Well, I've got a lot of questions in regards to it. As with food industry, things are a little more, I guess, complicated than others. So I'll go ahead and start with a couple questions. So, what is the new guidelines going to be in the food industry coming from the CDC and the Department of Health? In regards to PPE equipment, will staff be required to wear gloves and masks at all times? Our employer is going to be, or our employee is going to be required to be screened.
Scott. Hey, let's just do one question at a time, okay? All right. So,
okay.
So go ahead, answer his first one.
Yeah. Scott, I'm sure that with respect to restaurants and bars, the governor's recommendations will touch upon what you just asked with respect to gloves and masks. I would imagine that will be a requirement of some kind. I can't imagine that not happening. I can imagine that social distancing, suggestions, recommendations will be into play with respect to, distance between tables and distance between parties. So I would expect that. That's why we're anxiously awaiting what the governor's going to say. I did ask the state surgeon general last week when we were on our daily call with him, what DOH CDC recommendations specific to restaurants and bars are they working on or about to deploy? And he said, Bob, we're all going to have to wait for the governor's final recommendation with respect to that, because public health input is being made available and will be part of the recommendations.
Okay. And that kind of segues into my next question is, and I know we're kind of in a wait and see game, as this is going to be trial and error for all of us. But in regards to the social distancing, with the distance between tables and guests, a lot of what we're hearing coming out of the industry from municipalities all over Florida is, for instance, Miami is outdoor seating only. So, now Flagler County and Dade County are a little different in regards of, the spread.
Sure.
But, are our restaurants going to be required to, just go with outdoor dining only? Another question in that regards is, with the social distancing, where does that leave any of our patrons that want to maybe sit at the bar?
Yeah.
Are we going to have to set up clusters and spread them out 6 feet apart?
Right.
Are they just going to not allow it at all?
Oh, gosh.
How does that work?
Scott, we just don't know yet. Man, I wish we had an answer to that question for you. We just don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what the governor's recommendations are. Jonathan, do you agree with that assessment?
He may have gone on.
Yeah, he has a 10:30 call. I'm sorry. But I haven't read anything yet that is concrete relative to, a recommendation, suggestion, mandate regarding restaurants and bars.
Scott, what are you thinking? I've heard talk of no more menus. Basically, you use your phone, and here's the app here, just like you do if you're going to order for pickup or delivery. So there's no menus handed out, and they're talking about plastic silverware and all these kind of things. What internal workings I know your brain, is working all the time. What any new things, and maybe maybe menuless is something to for the future. All these people are looking at new businesses where you can order from your phone at the table. Maybe, I don't know. So tell me.
That might replace servers.
Oh,
David, I'm going to interrupt just real quickly because the county members and the health department too have to jump off and get on a partner webinar, a partner meeting here in 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. Scott, other questions? Let's go and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, I got one more question. And a lot of the restaurants, Flagler Beach is a big area for entertainment. Are we going to be allowed to put on a band that might be seen as, a form of congregation, even if guests are social distancing? Is that going to be an issue? Because I know we've got a lot of the gig workers who are just, they're sucking wind trying to make ends meet.
Sure.
Are they going to be included? And in what phase would they be included? Is that something to consider?
Yeah, I wish we knew, Scott, the answer to that. We're just going to have to wait and see. I'm so sorry that we don't have a concrete response and answer for that. I sure hope that music will be allowed, and yes, that will definitely institute some congregation, and that would be a motivation for it. But all at the same time that we're practicing social distancing, so we're all going to have to see what that really looks like. But I sure hope that music will be allowed in our bars and restaurants. I can't imagine that not happening.
All right, Scott, you get a quick commercial. Go ahead, do it.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been, practicing social distancing in our county. Tortugas is open for takeout, and we're located 6 blocks south of the pier on A1A, 608 South Ocean Shore Boulevard. We're the base 2-story building with all the fire pits. Our phone number is 386-439-0098, or you can go to tortugasflorida.com, or you can download our app. It's Tortugas Florida on the marketplace.
All right,
Scott, are you doing delivery by chance?
Thank you guys so much.
Are you doing delivery, Scott, by chance?
We started to do delivery, but there's just not enough in our market space to really warrant it.
Okay.
I think as it's kind of a trial and error for us.
Yep.
It's something we may add as time comes in, but right now we're just running with a skeleton crew at this point.
Right. And food is great there, but definitely takeout is happening at Tortugas.
All right, Scott, thanks. Be safe. Appreciate it. Kat, out of time, I know. We'll let Kat Friel wrap it up here on today's program.
Yep, just want to thank everybody for participating, for joining, for listening. We have another webinar on Thursday. That one is for nonprofits, so churches and all of our charitable organizations that take care of us all the time. If you would like to find out about that webinar, you can contact me directly at kfriel@flaglercounty.org. David, thank you so much, and thank you to all of the businesses. Thank you for your patience. We are waiting on the governor's orders. We know that Flagler County is Flagler strong, and that our business owners, they're entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are resilient. Just hang in there. We need you. You guys are our lifeblood. You really are. Thank you again, David. Thanks for everything.
Kat Friel, thank you, our Economic Development Manager, and thank you for caring about all the businesses. Final words here from Bob Snyder.
Just great job, Kat. Great presentation, and thank you so much for allowing us to have this opportunity today.
And Gretchen.
Be patient. We'll get through this.
All right, very good. All right, we'll replay this at noon today in its entirety on WNZF if you missed part of it or whatever. And once again, we'll return to our regular programming with Armstrong and Getty.